Barefoot Bruisers. Morning, y'all. How y'all doing? A little early Sunday morning. Lights just coming up. Little cat butt in the background. Uh, it's been kind of a roller coaster of a week. So I guess I'll go through. There's no format on this channel. Whatever. I just do whatever I do. But sometimes I go on tangents. Oftentimes I lose my train of thought and end up somewhere in left field. But it's been a roller coaster. So let me just kind of go with the flow here. So I told y'all last week we were waiting to see if my wife got into school. So the morning she was going to find out, she knew it was going to be the 19th. She was stressed out, of course. You'd imagine like if you're waiting for some, basically life-altering decision that wasn't in your hands, you're waiting for that information, you'd be a little nervous too, right? So there's basically a restaurant, I don't know, like maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes from here, a little breakfast place that we like to eat at. And as we're driving towards this little airport. So I've taken her to breakfast basically to hopefully calm her nerves and maybe hear something so we can celebrate, But so we're driving towards this restaurant. It goes right towards an airport. So basically the road I live off of goes dead ends into an airport. As we're getting close to the airport, we see two planes that are kind of sort of around the same altitude and going basically, they're kind of crossing each other, but not really, like it just looked weird. Like if you've been around airports, like you don't usually see, unless they're doing something together, you don't see two planes that are around the same, altitude going basically the same or similar directions at all. They're normally way high, way low. Anyway, it was a mid-air collision and we watched a plane crash right in front of us. Like we were, the stop signs here, the airport's on the other side, and it crashed just on the other side of a building on that airport. So like it was like right there in front of us. So now instead of the stress of worried about school, my wife kind of got emotional, was crying because we just basically watched people die, like right in front of us. This is kind of a surreal situation, like I think I think a lot of guys are, but I'm a little more numb to stuff like that because the realization of, yeah, someone just died. But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, what the hell happened? How could they? So my mind went a little different than hers. But anyway, so she's like, what the hell? We eat breakfast, calm down, whatever. Like, it was kind of weird. Like, Steve had a similar, seeing people basically die in front of you kind of thing experience earlier last year, late last year, I guess I should say, on his trip. And this is kind of like a similar type thing, other than like, I don't know, it looked very movie-ish. Like, it was weird. But anyway, like we get done eating breakfast or whatever else. She calms her nerves. Then she gets a call. She got in school, so she's like super excited. So everybody's like, we were all like pumped about it. But at the same time, I could see in the back of her head, she still isn't really over the trauma that happened to someone else that we witnessed, like, an hour before then. So it was kind of a high, but also like a little on the, like life goes up and down. Like, we normally do that. But then like later that week, so, she gets to celebrate a little bit the rest of that day. And she's supposed to take the day off, but my wife can't sit still. And, she got good news. So she wanted to go, share with some friends, and she ends up working because that's what she likes to do anyhow. Like her funds work. But, this is Wednesday. Friday, we have basically a person that was training for us, has been training for us for years at this point, and he bailed. He quit, which is the first person that's quit on our business yet. So for her, I kind of saw it coming. For her, she took it a little more personal. So for her, it was a little bit of a, I don't know, like she took it. She takes it personally. She takes everything to the heart. But like when she bonds with somebody and trains them and wants them to get better, like that's investment for her. And like the skill level that she's achieved is not like something that she achieved it by herself. She didn't really have a whole lot of helping hands. Like, I mean, she went to schools and stuff, but nobody like mentored her. So when she mentors someone else, it means a lot to her. But the people, when it's happened a couple times now that she's mentored, don't see it the same way. So it hits her hard, man. So like, that was a pretty good shot. So she felt like that soured. So this happened Friday morning, or Friday sometime. I can't remember now. So basically, she had a day and a half to kind of sort of celebrate getting into school, and then now she's like, "Oh man!" And then we find out Saturday that we are going to lose a pretty good chunk of our business because they're basically becoming competitors instead of paying us. They're going to be competitors. They're hiring some other staff and buying more equipment, and instead of paying us, they want to pay. They want to do something else. So like, yeah, it's been a weird week personally. So 5 minutes of rambling. Sorry, you probably already clicked off at this point. This video is supposed to be. See, I told you I'd go left field. It's supposed to be, and I meant that this is coming back to it full circle, I guess. I meant to go about this and get this point across in another video when I was talking about being a YouTube channel, encouraging people who are into knife collecting that want to become more, like you might not have a subject in mind that you want to do a channel with, like Ken Faulkner before he started a channel. I kind of try to talk him into it and kind of encourage him, like, I just, make a video, see what happens, and then make, see what, anyway, opportunities arise when you become a YouTube channel. And sometimes it's like just putting the word out there. Sometimes some stuff kind of gets fed back to you because it's put out there. People heard you say it, and they're like, hey, he's looking for this. Why don't we try that? So, case in point, where'd it go? Way over here. 1 second, let me grab this. So this is in for a possible trade, and basically, if he's happy with what I sent him, it is going to be a trade. But I mentioned, was it last week? Yeah, the DSK stuff. Was that last week or the week before? I can't. This gets all. Yeah, it's last week. What? Yeah, when I got this guy I just showed you a minute ago, the VXC, which I'm still loving this knife very much so. But from the same dude, George, he had a deluxe. So I never got a chance to handle a deluxe before, so I figured, why not? Let's go ahead and work out a trade with this. So, you know what? I got quite a few to show you. So 2 that's been loaned in plus this one. So let me flip the camera around. I'll merge these videos. I don't know. Maybe I'll edit some of that shit at the beginning. Maybe I'll put it at the end. I don't know. Yeah, let me flip it around. We'll do it that way. Hang on. All right, we got it turned around, and I wanted to show basically this so you can see in comparison to other things. Because when I got this, I actually had shown Denise. She's a big DSK collector too. So I showed her this, and I was like, she's like, what size is it? Or, I was basically like, it's skinny and long. She's like, well, what size is it? I'm like, I don't know, it's hard for me to describe. So I'm just going to throw you a couple DSK comparisons so that you guys can kind of sort of see. And now, this is on an angle, so some stuff looks a little different. So let's do it this way. So it's a little more square with the camera. So you can see it's smaller than the kickstand. The Gen 2 kickstand, it might be closer in size too. I don't have one here, so I can't show you that. You can see the frame is very reminiscent of the kickstand style, right? You can see it pretty much spot on exactly. So I think, if I'm not, I don't know, I haven't messed with the Gen 2 kickstands enough. Only had one. It was only here briefly, so I'm guessing it's around that size. But just for shits and giggles for you guys who like DSKs, and I'm just gonna lay these down because I don't feel like carrying them all or putting them all in the. Let's do it that way around. Here we go. VXC and the Deluxe. If I didn't already mention, this is the Deluxe. I think I did mention it. Work in progress. Sorry, but I did try something different on this. So this is my Bowie GF2. I ended up drilling through the thumb stud hole. I did flat grind this because it was flat, but it was V ground on the backside for that final edge. So I just flat grinded all the way to basically meet that other side because I wanted it thinner, a little bit thinner on that. And I made this kind of 3-hole design for the thumb, and man, it doesn't work great, but I don't know about the looks. It's a little funky in the looks, but I'm gonna try to ask this stonewash and see what it comes out. On the back side, I did an end mill groove, and then I put a ball on the bottom of that groove, so like it kind of has a little different. I was trying to go with that step look on this side too, but just a little different look. Anyway, not to elaborate too much, but you can see it's pretty much, it's a little thinner this way, maybe on the handle and in the blade, but it's definitely a little bit longer, but in the same realm. So if I had a GF1, I'd imagine it's probably, I think the GF1 and the GF2 are fairly close, but I think that's probably, the Deluxe is probably just a hair bit longer than it. And then Stealth, and oh yeah, I did the same thing on the Stealth. I cut that groove inside the other groove, the oblong, and so, and I blasted the handle. Remember last video I was talking about how to get rid of that anodizing shit. So yep, there we go. Stealth and the Deluxe. So it gives you an idea size wise where the Deluxe comes in. So this is probably the most normal DSK as far as like a knife just feeling like a knife. This is what this one feels like to me. When I say normal, like, he's got some crazier designs and some that, like the Stealth, where it's like you know, swooping down like a lot of people like that. But you know, for me now, especially with this stealth the way it is now, like it's a finger flicker. The flipper might get deleted off of this one to see what it's like, but you know, they're all kind of sort of looking at them all. They all have a little bit. They have Dan's personality into it. This is, and this does too. Don't get me wrong, but this is the most common. Like, if you see this as a knife, it's just pretty much, you know, it's the more. What am I trying to say here? Yeah, it's the most ordinary looking, common, I guess, shape of a knife that I've seen from Dan, pretty much. I dig it though, and all he uses these. They're basically shoulder bolts. They are, not basically, they are shoulder bolts that he uses for studs. Crusader Forge used to do the same thing. I'm not really a huge fan of that, so we may do something different there. If I end up getting this in a trade, it might turn into like a hole or something, because I could flick off the back of that hole. Like I'm just doing it like off the side of it right now, but if there was a hole there, it'd probably be good. Thumb flick and finger flick, so it might get a hole put in it too. So, you know, I'll modify everything, so it's pretty much where it is. Speaking of, like, stuff to modify. Well, you know what? Let me not do that. Let me just keep going where I'm doing. So possible enter from trade from George. Like I said, it may or may not be a deal, but it's pretty much dependent on what I sent him if he likes it or not. But see, I got some Vandermeer ones laid out. So Denise had one made, and I don't want to get into the drama with this. I try to keep my channel on the most positive. You know, sometimes share experiences like I did at the beginning of this video. This is a very cool looking knife. And from what I understand, this is the first studs that Jeff's actually done on a knife. So placement wise, not the best placement, not really good access to it. He did try to make the studs tall. So if you look, see how tall those are, but on the top of it, they're flush with the frame, but there's no grip. So let me see if I can find, I thought I had some studs sitting here. Let me look over here. Here it goes, the set. These are just not going to be on the knife, but I'm just going to use it for, so you can see. So on studs like this, see if I can make it focus grasshopper. Anyhow, maybe you can, maybe you can't. See that it has traction on the top. So when you get to the top of that, you can get some traction and flip it, where this one really doesn't have any traction on the top of it. It's smooth. So I'm assuming Jeff made these himself. So yeah, she even asked, can I get to it? I got, you see how I'm wedging my finger in there and kind of put it in between the nail and the fat part of my finger to flick it, so I can make it work like that. It's just not easy, okay? And same with the thumb. Like, I gotta kind of come on the outside of the frame and catch it and shoot it straight up. That's the only way I can make this one with the stud wise work. So what I'm guessing here is pretty much Jeff's not into studs, so he really didn't know placement wise, or, you know, if it was mine, I probably would have relieved the frame a little bit so you can get in there and have better access, you know, like a lot of people do. But overall, cool build. Her issue with this is she had lock stick, and it still does. Let's see if I can hear it. I don't know. Hopefully y'all can hear that. I know my microphone's up on my head. I don't know why I held it closer to the camera like a jackass, but I don't even know what this model's called. Can't remember. It still has lock stick. So, you know, not to get into the drama of that situation, but, you know, I don't think she's fully happy with the build. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like, I've only had one experience with Jeff, actually a couple of, but you know, one experience with the build, and this is Wrath, and mine came out perfect, exactly how I wanted it, and he did exactly how I wanted to do it. I don't have any issues that Denise did. So just to put that out there. So size wise, that's pretty much how I was gonna go. I can't remember what she called this model, and y'all, if y'all know, if she watches this, I'm sure she will. Drop in a comment for me, Denise. I can't remember what this model's called. But this is Wrath above it, and this is a 4-inch Instigator. I've got to move some knives around. Bear with me 1 second here. It's a 4-inch Instigator, so you can see that the Instigator is pretty good bit size bigger. Kind of remnant of each other though, right? Kind of, sort of. And then, of course, the double Homicide, which is, you know, much bigger. And then, you know, you also got to take into consideration too, the camera's kind of going at an angle, so the small one looks bigger, and so if I reverse it around, it even show even more. but anyway, I just kind of wanted to show that knife, talk about it a little bit. I am going to do a little work for her and try to see if I can get some studs that works a little better for her, and also see if we can't do something about the lock stick on this one. I don't know that I will or won't, and it brings up a point, I guess. When you guys get customs, I don't know, not a ton of you are into customs, but some of them are. Kind of sort of what I went to after the video. Some of y'all watch it just to listen to me ramble and see what stupid shit ends up on the table. But I constantly battle this myself. Like, when I get to a certain level of custom, Like the DSKs, I kind of got over. You can see I kind of just sort of hack into them and do my own thing with them. I don't know why. I feel like my style, what I like to do in knives, is very similar to what Dan does. Like obviously he's my favorite maker currently, with the amount of volume he has and the different stuff he does. And I don't know, it's just one of the guys that's kind of drawn to me. The interview one, I did the same thing. I got this, I modified it. I modified the instigator. I haven't done anything to the wrath yet. But like, when you get to a certain level of customs, does that change? And I guess it's probably like same as price range or anything like that. Like you get to a certain point, do you change? So the reason I got this knife sitting on the table, this is from 2014, so it's 11 years old. There's some definite updates you could do on this. If you're into custom knives, you may notice something right away, which I did not when I first got this knife. I don't know, I might hold it closer to the camera. And a couple people have got to check out this knife and seen it, and there's some different weird stuff going on with this knife. But once again, it's from 2014, so this is way ahead of its time. So, the milling texture on the frame is like highly sought after now. So this is made by Jim Burke, which if you don't know who Jim Burke is, he's, most of his work is fairly expensive and sought after. And then if you notice the pivot on this side, you're like, damn, it looks kind of like a Marsh pivot, don't it? Yep, that's because Jeremy Marsh did a collab with him on this one, and Jeremy Marsh actually ground the blade on this one. This has been resharpened, and I believe Kyle did the work on this one, Kyle Coonley, for the sharpening, because that's a lot of work right there to get that all mirror and then down to the edge too. And it's probably been used and abused by me, and I think I got this one back from Carco this time. But it's been around for a few people have got to check it out. But it's one of those works of art where you're like, should you or shouldn't you modify this? Because it's 11 years old. If someone really wanted this out, would they have got it, or at least try to acquire it? It's been on my channel. That other people have put on their channel as pictures. I've never heard anybody, hey, that's worth this much. You should probably try to sell it instead of doing something to it. So I guess the reason I'm kind of rambling on this is this needs a hole or a slot, all brown, something, flicking something to do something with that. I don't know. It needs something besides just a flipper for me. I flipper only things, like I know some people still don't care. Some people, I like the multi-deployment. I really do. Like the knives kind of at this point, like, could I deal with a flipper only? Yeah. If I had a different knife in the other pocket that wasn't flipper only, probably so. But like if I'm just taking one knife, which is rare, but I like to have multiple deployments. It's just my thing. I think a lot of people are that way, and it's not a deal breaker, but it also would enhance this knife, and I probably would carry it more because it's still fairly thick stock. Like it's, I wouldn't say it's, I don't know, it's borderline bruiser. How about that? It's definitely a bigger knife. Like if you're not into bruisers, you'd probably think this was a bruiser, right? For me, this is kind of like the XM24 for me. It's kind of like just, I don't know, maybe not. It may be a little bit bigger than the 24. Like but it reminds me of like, I don't know, ZT-ish, XM24-ish, where it's like, they're big, but they're still more conventionally functional knives. This one's probably, I guess it's a little bit bigger than that. So we'll call it a bruiser, as my buddy Jonas said, sub bruiser. I don't know, like I don't know if there's there's so many categories and everybody's got a different definition, and it's kind of revolving around what you have in your knife collection, right? Because like I wouldn't really call this a bruiser, but it's still a big chunky, it's sizably fat. It has all the characteristics of a bruiser, but it's just a much smaller knife. So is this a mini bruiser? Like we can get into what they are. But anyhow, I'm going off on a tangent. My point is, would you modify something like this? Because I've thought about this, and then I got that Rogovitz that has the American flag Cerakoted on it that I got from Jose, the XR3, and I'm thinking about blasting that off of that because honestly, the only thing I don't like about that knife is the finish on that Rogovitz. Anywho, now that we're done with our and I've already showed probably my, like, as far as like famous makers, I've shown my Burke Marsh is about the, that's about as high end of a maker that I've ever owned of, like, if you know who either one of those are, valuable knife. I don't have that much in this one compared to like what the value of this would be for any of their stuff normally from a collector. So I'm still torn on whether to modify this one or just move it and try to get something else different from it. We'll put it this way: if you see this and you like this, hit me up. Let's work out a trade. Just sell it. I don't care, whatever. Before I get ready to modify it, because I probably will modify it if no one ends up wanting it. But what I'm trying to get is another opportunity that YouTube has come up. Y'all know I'm friends with Denise, so like obviously we met through YouTube, so that's kind of the connection I wanted to say with that one. With the Deluxe, obviously met George through social media and that sort of thing, so that's another connection. This is from Tomas, and this is one that I never thought, maker that I never thought I'd get a chance to handle one of his stuff unless it was like at a show or something like that. I never thought someone would just say, hey, you want to check this out? And I'm like, sure. What do you want to check out, kind of thing. But anyway, he hit me up. He wanted to check out my Direware Solo, but he gave me a Reese Whelan to check out. And while we were just talking about bruisers, this is a weird looking shape, and it's kind of sort of, it's not the most sharp, so he's definitely used it. But yeah, let's roll it over and look at it. Look how thick this thing is. Like, you know, even for me, from a bruiser guy, like, there's a certain amount of functionality that I like in my knives. Like, it serves like, you know, like, let's just see what I got here that's super thick. Probably this is probably one of the thicker ones. So, you know, around a 1/4 inch blade. And when I say around a 1/4 inch, like, Brendan hit me up, asked me about the thickness of one of mine. And I was like, I think it's a 1/4 inch. And I measured it, it was like 280 thousandths. So, you know, it's relative, right? But here, let's do it this way. This is one of my thicker knives, and then this is this one. So it is super, super thick. So I guess what I was trying to get into or articulate that I'm not doing well is, even though I like some of the thicker blades, a lot of the thicker blades, I still like some functionality in as far as like what I do for daily use. Like, let's bring this back to like vehicles. Like, okay, if you daily drive a truck or a Jeep, like, are you using that vehicle to its optimum, what it's built for? You know, like, no, not really, right? You're just daily using a vehicle that you have. That's the same thing with a bruiser, right? I don't need it to be overbuilt to be a bruiser to use in my daily life. I just prefer it that way. It's no different than someone who drives a Jeep or a truck and doesn't use it as a Jeep or a truck on the daily. You know, it's the same kind of thing. So that's kind of sort of where I see this knife at too. This knife is very much, and it, you know, it's pretty much, I'm pretty sure that's a hand satin on that thing, and I can only imagine how hard that was to hand satin. I'm not into the hand satins too much, but you know, I'm gonna guess, just looking at this is all done by hand. It's very well possible that he uses, you know, water jet or something like that. But like, looking at how everything's cut out and machined and that sort of thing, I'm guessing this is all done manually. I don't know of Reese Whelan's work. I'm not a huge, like, I haven't followed him a ton. But this thing is absolutely a beast. Oh, and there's his initials too. It's probably not even showing up on this camera with the, maybe it'll show up. There it goes, maybe. RW. But anyway, flipper only on this one. And this is just, it's ridiculous, man. It really is. And in the best possible way. Like, I'm not saying in a negative way. It's the best possible way, because like, it's a hawk bill, right? Not many, and I should have brought my Direware out here, my Direware hawk bill. Not many people like hawk bills anyhow, it seems like. Yeah, but honestly, like, I found my hawk bill to be pretty good for utility use, you know. Obviously, you know, this is a super steep. So if you're trying to slice through something, obviously wrong knife for you, right? But once I get back, the Jeep and the truck analogy that I was kind of used a minute ago, you know, you get a 4x4, huge wheels, not great on gas, not the most comfortable ride going down the road, but it still gets you from point A to point B, same as that, you know, I don't know, whatever you drive, Prius or whatever kind of little, I'll leave this alone. whatever vehicle you drive, it still gets you from point A to point B, but it does the job. So that's what I'm going to get with this one. But it will do the job for most utility stuff that I would do on a daily, like, cause I'm not doing really hard use these knives anymore. Like, when I used to work at a shop, I definitely did more. And when I work around here, I'll do a little more harder stuff, you know, and test the knives and push the knives a little bit more than I would if I was out and about. And, you know, obviously I'm not going to do it on a knife like this, which I didn't even ask him how much this cost, but I would imagine this is at least multiple thousands. I would be surprised if it was less than two for sure. Just from the amount of material, and I didn't ask him what it was made out of, you know, what material it was made out of or anything like that, but just look at the thickness of those materials, and like, this is a lot of material just sitting right here, money wise. But man, what an opportunity to get a chance to handle something like this. This is kind of like harping back to that, why I started a YouTube channel and why I get involved in the community. Like, you know, you get chances to handle stuff like this. Like, when I started this channel 4 years ago, like, I never thought I'd get to handle half the knives that are on this table. Like, I never thought I'd get to handle them. I never thought I would be, you know, in this league of stuff. And I might not stay in this league. I might have to go back down and get cheaper knives. You know, like, life's one of those things when you're up, you know, enjoy it. Because life likes to throw you curveballs, and you probably ain't gonna stay in the up the whole rest of your life. Maybe you will. Maybe you're lucky enough and fortunate enough to have that. But you know, right now I'm just like living the high life, I guess you want to say. And like this is like a highlight of that. Like, you know, I don't own this obviously, but just to get a chance to handle it, and for someone just to send it to me, you know, and like, hey, just check it out, go ahead. And I know Tomas from online, and we've done a deal before, but you know, and I think I've modified one of his maybe, but we don't really know each other. So like, you're trusting your people that you met online. And the cool thing about moving into the customs and being in the custom world is there's a lot less of the drama that goes along with productions and semi-productions and like hot stuff like the Roosevelt or the like I don't know, Arius, other knives that are like high-end productions. There's a lot of people sought after that. A lot of people make fakes of that. A lot of people try to screw other. When you get into like custom range, like there ain't nobody making a fake Reese Wheelan, because if they was, they would just make it. They would just put their name on it, and then they could sell it for a couple $1,000. I don't know why anybody would try to make a fake version of this. You know, I mean, obviously, I don't know why Chinese companies decide to do what they do, but it's more or less to get, you know, something cheaper, I guess. I'm not into the clone stuff, but, you know, like, I think all that clone stuff's bullshit. But, you know, like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is when you get to this level, when you get, you know, multiple $1,000 knives, most of the people on this level, we kind of sort of get to know each other, whether it's through social media or through shows or whatever else, and you kind of have a level of trust, and it kind of sort of it kind of goes back to where it used to be. And, you know, like, if you've been around the knife game long, like say Instagram, when it first kind of got started and the knife community kind of moved to Instagram, and YouTube was kind of sort of, there was like, I don't know, 15, 20 YouTube channels instead of like 2,000. I don't know how many YouTube channels there are now, but there's a ton of them. And I encourage you to start your own for this very fact that you get to check out stuff like this. But anyhow, like it's reminiscent. The custom world is reminiscent of what it used to be like then, where, you know, if you wanted to buy, I don't know, any one of these knives from somebody, you could just post it up and they'd trust you. You'd send them the money, they'd send you the knife, and the deal was done. And, you know, if the person wasn't happy with it, you know, either refund the money or, you know, or work out another deal. Like that, it used to be like that kind of gentleman's agreement, and it really wasn't even thought of. And if someone did screw someone else over, they got burned, and nobody would do business with them. So it's way different now than what it was then. I know a lot of you guys that are into the more production knives have to battle that more. And in which case, you know, like, do you trust the person you're buying from and that sort of thing? Anyway, that's kind of what I'm harping back to on this, is like, to meet somebody like Tomas and have him have the trust to send me this, and me to be able to trust him and to send him my Direware Solo. It's definitely a different level, and also like it makes me feel good that there's still good people like this out there. It's reminiscent of the older style knife collecting where I grew up. Like, will it stay that way? Probably not. Like, once, you know, me even just saying this in the video probably gives somebody the idea of trying to screw somebody else over, but hopefully they don't see it through my video. All right, it's been a long ramble. I showed y'all a bunch of knives. I have a few more to show you, but you know what? Let's just save it for next week. You know what? Why not? Okay? All right. Y'all be cool. See y'all. Oh, yeah, by the way, I put it in the last video again, but Alex and then Rick's channel, they're in the last video. It's a pinned description. If I still want to push those guys, because neither one of those guys have the amount of followers they should have, and both of them do way better videos than me. So go check out both them channels, please. If you hadn't already, go check them out. Ken Faulkner, another one to go check out. Ken's getting ready to go to Blade Show, so I'm a little jealous. But Brother Ken, I know you see this. Have fun at the show, bro. I know it's a couple weeks off still, but I'm thinking Atlanta already, bro. All right, y'all be cool. See y'all.